Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in life when the winds roar, the skies darken, and everything you thought was steady begins to tremble. But peace, real peace, is not found in the calm, it is found in the storm. It is in the moments when the world shakes around you, yet you stand still, unshaken, unbothered, unmoved. Because your spirit knows that no storm lasts forever. The same God who brought you to this moment will guide you through it. So be so peaceful that no storm moves you, no whisper shakes you, and no chaos steals your calm. When we talk about peace, too many of us imagine a life without conflict, without pain, without the unsettling winds that rattle the windows of the soul. But peace is not the avoidance of storms. It is the calm you create within yourself while the thunder rumbles above. Inner peace is not a condition of the weather, but a discipline of the heart. It is learning to breathe through chaos, to stand when everything around you falls, and to whisper, "I am still." When the world is shouting at you to panic, it is a decision that rises each morning and renews itself every night, a quiet vow that says, "No matter what happens, I will not be moved." There are moments in life when peace seems impossible, when the bills are due, when the love you gave returns empty, when the people you trusted forget your name. In those moments, the easy thing is to surrender to fear, to frustration, to the noise of uncertainty. But inner peace does not come to those who surrender to the noise. It comes to those who listen beneath it. Beneath every chaos there is a hum of stillness, a soft current of spirit that waits for you to notice it. When you stop reacting and start breathing, you hear it. When you stop fighting what you cannot control, you feel it. That is the mastery of stillness. To remain steady while the wind howls, to stay soft while life gets hard, to smile even when the reason to smile has been buried under the weight of worry. To master stillness means to understand yourself so deeply that no external force defines you. It means you know where your power lies, and you know what cannot touch it. The storm may bruise your skin, it may shake your home, it may even steal your comfort, but it cannot take your peace unless you hand it over. The mastery of stillness is the art of keeping what belongs to your soul, untouched by what belongs to the world. It is the courage to stand in the middle of disorder and say, "I am here and I am whole." Peace, real peace, is not fragile. It is the strongest form of power a person can carry because it refuses to break. The world often teaches us to react, to respond, to defend. But peace teaches us to pause. In the pause, you find perspective. In the stillness, you find strength. The mastery of stillness is not passive, it is active awareness. It is choosing silence when anger wants to speak. It is choosing understanding when pride wants to rise. It is choosing patience when pressure wants to rush you. Stillness is not weakness, it is wisdom in motion. It is the power to wait until your emotions settle before you move, the grace to breathe before you break, the faith to trust that what is meant for you will not require you to fight endlessly for it. Every human being faces storms, storms of grief, storms of change, storms of disappointment. Some storms are short and fierce, others linger for years. But the truth is, the storm is not the enemy. The storm is the teacher. It teaches you how strong your roots are, how deep your faith runs, how much control you truly have over your own spirit. Without storms, you would never learn stillness. Without pressure, you would never learn peace. Every trial that enters your life carries within it an invitation to grow quieter inside, to stop depending on the external for validation, to start hearing the whispers of your own soul. The mastery of stillness requires trust. Trust in God, trust in the timing of life, trust in yourself. You must believe that whatever storm comes, It is not there to destroy you, but to reveal you. There is something sacred about the person who can stand in the middle of trouble and still radiate calm. You look at them and wonder how they do it. You think they must not feel pain. But they do. They just learn to hold pain without becoming it. They have learned to witness the storm without identifying with it. That is mastery. To observe without absorption, to feel without drowning, to move through chaos without letting it live inside you. You can only master stillness when you stop running from discomfort. So many of us rush to escape pain, to distract ourselves from silence, to fill our lives with movement so we don't have to face our own thoughts. But peace demands presence. It demands that you sit with your fears long enough to see through them, that you hold your sadness long enough to understand its lesson, that you let your loneliness teach you how to be whole on your own. Stillness is not a place you visit. It is a muscle you build. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. When you can sit in silence and feel complete, you have reached a sacred level of freedom. Inner peace is a conversation with your soul that says, I am safe here. It's a reminder that you do not have to control everything to survive. The storm will do what storms do. It will rage, it will test, it will pass. But you can decide who you are while it happens. You can decide that no matter how loud the thunder grows, you will not let fear write your story. You can decide that you will not let anger become your language. You can decide that you will stay centered in love, even when life offers you every reason not to be. That is mastery. The ability to stay true to your higher self, even when the lower world calls your name. The mastery of stillness also means understanding timing. Some things are not meant to be fixed instantly. Some wounds need silence to heal. Some paths need space to reveal themselves. When you are still, you allow divine timing to work. You stop trying to rush what only time can resolve. You stop forcing doors that are not yours to open. You start trusting that what leaves was never meant to stay, and what stays was always meant for you. Stillness clears your vision. It lets you see beyond the panic of the moment into the peace of the bigger picture. You begin to understand that everything, even the storm, is working for your good. People will misunderstand your peace. They will call it indifference. They will think you do not care. But peace is not carelessness. It is clarity. It is the refusal to waste energy on what does not serve your growth. It is the recognition that you cannot heal chaos by becoming chaotic yourself. When you master stillness, you stop explaining yourself to everyone. You stop defending your choices. You stop needing approval for your peace, because you understand that your energy is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. You realize that the calmer you are, the more power you hold. Your peace becomes your presence. Your stillness becomes your strength. To live in peace is to accept imperfection. Life will never be neatly arranged, and that is its beauty. The sky will darken, the waves will rise. Yet within you lies a shoreline that cannot be moved. That place is your peace. When you anchor yourself there, no amount of outside turbulence can pull you away. The world will continue to spin, but you will move through it differently. You will respond slower, speak softer, love deeper. You will understand that nothing is personal and everything is purposeful. You will stop fighting what you cannot change and start nurturing what you can. Your own vibration, your own calm, your own grace. Stillness transforms how you experience pain. Instead of asking, why me? You begin to ask, what is this teaching me? You learn to embrace discomfort as a sculptor shaping your soul. You begin to see how patience sharpens wisdom, how waiting refines faith, how silence restores energy. Every delay, every loss, every challenge becomes a classroom for peace. You realize that the very things that once disturbed your spirit are now your greatest teachers. And with each lesson, your inner landscape becomes quieter, stronger, more grounded. When you master stillness, you also master listening, not just to others, but to life itself. You start hearing the subtle directions of intuition, the whispers of your higher self, guiding you gently toward peace. You stop chasing validation and start following resonance. You learn to distinguish between what feels urgent and what is truly important. You understand that not every call deserves your answer. Not every storm deserves your presence. You become selective with your attention, deliberate with your energy, intentional with your emotions. You learn that sometimes the most powerful response is silence. Stillness gives birth to compassion. When you are at peace within, you no longer need to project pain onto others. You can hold space for people without absorbing their chaos. You can forgive without reopening old wounds. You can love without losing yourself. Because peace teaches you boundaries. It shows you where you end and where the world begins. You stop expecting others to give you what only inner calm can provide. You start blessing others from your overflow instead of your emptiness. The mastery of stillness allows you to give without resentment, to serve without depletion, to shine without apology. Inner peace also changes how you see success. You stop chasing things that glitter and start pursuing what feels right. You realize that true success is sleeping well at night because your heart is light. It's waking up without bitterness, without envy, without regret. It's walking through life unhurried, unafraid, and unapologetic about your joy. When you master stillness, you redefine wealth. It becomes the quiet confidence of a soul that knows it is enough. You learn to celebrate others without comparing, to rest without guilt, to work without losing balance. You begin to flow with life instead of fighting against it. Stillness is sacred because it connects you to the divine. In silence, you hear God's whispers clearer than in any sermon. You feel guidance not through noise, but through knowing. When you quiet the world, you hear your Creator reminding you of your worth, your purpose, your strength. The mastery of stillness is, at its core, spiritual surrender. It is letting go of the illusion of control and embracing the peace of trust. It is believing that the universe is not against you, but for you, that every closed door is protection, every detour is direction, every delay is divine design. And when you practice this peace long enough, you stop being moved by temporary storms. You begin to walk with a rhythm that is unbothered by chaos. You smile when others expect you to break. You carry an energy that calms rooms. You become a living reminder that serenity is possible in a turbulent world. People will feel your peace before you speak it. They will see it in your eyes, in your stillness, in the way you move through life with grace under pressure. Because once you master stillness, you are no longer reacting to life. You are responding from a place of wholeness, and that changes everything. Your calm is your greatest weapon against life's noise. In a world that thrives on chaos, that celebrates reaction more than reflection, calm becomes a form of rebellion. To remain composed when everyone else is losing themselves is not passivity, it is power. It is strength disguised as silence. It is the quiet knowing that storms may roar, but you decide how deeply they reach into your spirit. Calm is not a lack of emotion. It is the mastery of emotion. It is the art of holding yourself steady when everything around you wants to shake you loose. It is the wisdom to know that your peace is more valuable than your opinion, that your serenity is worth more than being right, that your stillness can disarm what anger cannot. When the world is noisy, people forget to listen. When emotions run high, truth becomes blurred. In those moments, your calm becomes the clearest sound in the room. It speaks without raising its voice. It teaches without demanding attention. It holds power without showing force. People who live in calm are not blind to conflict. They are simply not controlled by it. They understand that every argument does not deserve their energy. Every challenge does not require their participation. Every chaos does not need their presence. Their calm becomes their compass, their steady ground when life tries to pull them in every direction. To make calm your weapon, you must first learn the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is instinct, response is intention. Reaction comes from fear, but response flows from understanding. When you are calm, you see clearly, you think deeply, you feel, but you are not ruled by those feelings. Calm allows you to choose your words carefully, to move with precision, to act from purpose rather than pain. It makes you the eye in the storm, the center where clarity lives while confusion spins around you. When others rush, you pause. When others shout, you breathe. When others fight for control, you surrender to peace. And in that surrender, you find strength that cannot be shaken. The world often mistakes calmness for weakness because it cannot see the discipline behind it. But calm requires courage. It takes courage to pause before responding, to walk away from conflict, to stand still when provoked. It takes strength to maintain grace when misunderstood, to remain kind when insulted, to stay centered when the world pushes you off balance. Your calm is not a shield to hide behind. It is a strategy for survival. It is how you preserve your energy in a world that drains it, how you protect your focus in a society that thrives on distraction. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you reclaim control over your inner world. Calmness is not something you stumble upon, it is something you build. It comes from the daily practice of awareness, the quiet rituals that ground you before the world wakes up. It grows when you choose to rise slowly instead of rushing, when you choose gratitude over complaint, when you learn to let silence speak. Every morning you decide what kind of energy you will bring into the day, and that decision shapes how life meets you. If you start with calm, you attract clarity. If you start with peace, you attract direction. If you start with chaos, you attract confusion. Calm becomes your vibration, and your vibration becomes your life. There are people who will test your calm. They will provoke you with words designed to pull you from your peace, to make you prove your worth in battles that do not belong to you. They will try to measure your strength by how loudly you respond. But you must remember that silence can be thunder. A calm spirit can shake foundations without raising its voice. You do not need to participate in every argument that invites you. You do not need to fight for attention when your energy already commands respect. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away with peace still in your hands. Calm allows you to see patterns where others see problems. When you are centered, your vision sharpens. You begin to understand why things happen, how people behave, and what energy is worth your time. You start to see that not every situation needs fixing. Some simply need space. You realize that peace is not achieved by controlling others, but by mastering yourself. Calm is clarity. It helps you see beyond the moment, beyond the noise, beyond the illusion of urgency. It allows you to respond to life with wisdom instead of impulse, to move through uncertainty with grace instead of fear. There is a calm that comes from faith, a deep knowing that life will unfold as it should. It is the calm of trust, of surrender, of letting go. When you stop trying to force outcomes, you allow peace to take the wheel. You stop arguing with the timing of things. You stop panicking over what you cannot predict. Calm becomes your declaration of faith. It says, I believe even when I cannot see. It says, I trust that everything that comes to me is meant for my growth. When you live from that kind of calm, you stop fighting battles that belong to God. You let your spirit rest, and in that rest you find power that anxiety could never offer. Calm is contagious. When you carry peace, others feel it before you speak it. You become a mirror for what others long to experience. You bring balance to rooms filled with tension, comfort to hearts filled with fear. People may not remember your words, but they will remember how they felt in your presence. Your calm becomes your signature, a silent message that says, it is safe here. That is how leaders are made, not by how loud they speak, but by how steady they remain when everything shakes. True leadership is the ability to bring peace to the room simply by walking into it. Your calm is also your shield against emotional manipulation. When you are grounded, no one can control you through anger, guilt, or fear. You begin to see through the noise of other people's expectations. You stop reacting to their opinions and start responding from your own truth. You realize that calm is not about detachment. It is about discernment. It allows you to love without losing yourself, to care without carrying other people's burdens as your own. Calm gives you the strength to say no without guilt, to set boundaries without bitterness, to choose solitude without feeling lonely. When life becomes heavy, calm is the breath that lifts you. It is the pause between your thoughts, the space where new strength is born. When things fall apart, calm whispers, breathe, you are still here. When fear grows loud, calm says, trust, this too will pass. It is not denial of pain. It is the wisdom to not let pain define you. It is knowing that every emotion has a rhythm, and that peace always returns if you do not feed the storm. Calm gives you resilience because it connects you to something deeper than circumstance. It connects you to yourself. The practice of calm transforms how you handle relationships. You stop reacting to people's moods. You stop matching their energy. You become the thermostat instead of the thermometer. You set the temperature rather than reflect it. Your peace becomes the tone of the room. Even when others try to provoke conflict, your calm disarms it. You stop needing to win arguments because you understand that peace is a higher victory. You realize that the only thing worth proving is your ability to stay in control of your emotions when the world tries to take that control from you. Calm also shapes how you handle failure. Instead of collapsing under pressure, you learn to breathe through it. You learn to see disappointment not as the end, but as a detour. Calm helps you pause long enough to recognize that what felt like rejection was redirection. It helps you trust that setbacks are setups for something better. Without calm, every obstacle feels like an attack. With calm, every challenge becomes a lesson. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this teaching me about myself? That shift is what turns pain into power. To keep your calm, you must protect your environment. Peace cannot live in constant noise. You must learn to step back, to unplug, to let silence restore you. You must learn to create sacred spaces for your spirit, places where you can breathe, reflect, and reset. Maybe it's a quiet walk at dawn, a moment of prayer before sleep, a few minutes of stillness with your hand over your heart. These small rituals remind your soul that calm is not something you wait for, it's something you return to. It's the home you build within yourself that no storm can flood. Calm is a choice, and it must be chosen daily. The world will tempt you to rush, to argue, to prove, to chase. But each time you choose peace, You rise above the noise. You remind yourself that peace is not passive. It is protective. It guards your energy, your clarity, your joy. It keeps you focused on what truly matters. And over time, calm becomes your default setting. You start responding to life with less panic and more patience, with less reaction and more reflection. You stop letting temporary emotions dictate permanent decisions. The weapon of calm does not wound, it heals. It diffuses conflict, softens hearts, and restores balance. When you bring calm into a situation, you bring light where there was confusion. You bring order where there was chaos. You bring faith where there was fear. The more you master calm, the more you realize that peace is not fragile, it is fierce. It can stand in the face of anger and not bow. It can sit in the presence of chaos and not tremble. Calm does not mean you do not care. It means you care enough to protect your peace while still showing grace to others. When you use calm as your weapon, you stop fighting with people and start winning with energy. You stop using force and start using presence. Your calm becomes your statement, your armor, your prayer. It shields you from negativity because nothing can enter a heart that is guarded by peace. Calm is not a place where nothing happens. It is a place where everything happens with intention. It is where your best ideas come, where your intuition grows louder, where your soul reconnects with its purpose. Calm is where creation begins. In your calm, you begin to recognize that noise is not power. Loudness does not equal strength. The world may reward those who shout, but it is always the quiet hearts that carry the deepest truth. Your calm teaches others that they too can slow down, that they too can find peace in the midst of pressure. You become a living example of what grace under fire looks like. And though storms may still come, they will no longer define you. You will not be moved because your calm is rooted in something eternal. It is not dependent on outcomes, applause, or approval. It comes from within, from a place the world did not give you, and therefore cannot take away. Faith and peace walk hand in hand. One cannot exist without the other. Faith is the foundation. Peace is the fruit. When you trust deeply, you rest deeply. When your faith is steady, your mind becomes calm. Peace does not come from what you can see or predict. It comes from what you believe even when there is no evidence. It is the quiet assurance that no matter how dark the night becomes, morning will come. Faith whispers peace into the soul, reminding you that everything happening is part of a larger, divine plan. It allows you to breathe in the middle of uncertainty and say, even this will serve my good. A faith is not blind optimism. It is not pretending everything is fine when it is not. Faith is seeing the storm and choosing to trust the captain. It is standing on shaking ground and still believing that your roots will hold. It is the courage to take one more step, even when the path ahead disappears into fog. When faith lives in your heart, peace takes residence in your mind. You stop fighting for control and start flowing with purpose. You stop begging life to go your way and start trusting that life is leading you exactly where you need to be. Peace cannot grow where there is fear, and fear cannot live where faith is alive. Every person must choose what voice to listen to, the voice of fear or the voice of faith. Fear says, you will fall. Faith says, even if you fall, you will rise. Fear says, you don't have enough. Faith says, you already have all you need. Fear says, you're alone. Faith says, you are never alone. When you begin to listen to faith, peace becomes your natural rhythm. You stop rushing. You stop worrying. You stop needing answers right now. You understand that God's timing is not late, it is perfect. And in that understanding, you find rest that no circumstance can disturb. Peace without faith is temporary. It lasts only until the next trial appears, but peace born from faith cannot be shaken, because it is rooted in something eternal. When your peace comes from what you possess, you will lose it when things are taken. When your peace comes from who you trust, it becomes unbreakable. You start to see storms not as punishment, but as preparation. You begin to view waiting not as delay, but as divine alignment. Faith transforms your perspective so deeply that even pain begins to make sense. It gives peace a place to live in your heart that no amount of fear can evict. Faith teaches you how to see with spiritual eyes. When others panic, you observe. When others despair, you pray. You learn that the greatest battles are not won by noise, but by quiet surrender. Peace grows stronger every time you choose to trust instead of tremble. Every time you say, "I don't understand, but I believe," you water the garden of your soul, and soon peace becomes the fruit of that faith. It blooms effortlessly, radiating calm even when the world is chaotic. The more faith you practice, the more peace you produce. It becomes your natural state, your default setting, your silent power. There are times when faith will be the only thing keeping you standing. When people leave, when doors close, when plans fall apart, faith holds your pieces together. It reminds you that endings are not failures, they are transitions. It teaches you that what looks like loss is often protection. And once your heart truly believes that peace takes over, you no longer resist what happens. You allow it to move through you, trusting that it will lead you to something greater. Faith gives peace permission to stay when logic says it should leave. Faith and peace are also acts of courage. It takes courage to believe when nothing is visible. It takes strength to rest when everything demands reaction. It takes boldness to be still when the world screams for urgency. Yet those who walk in faith know that waiting is not weakness. It is wisdom. They understand that the same God who created the storm has already written its end. They stop fearing what is unknown because they trust the one who knows all things. And that trust builds a peace so deep that even the fiercest winds cannot disturb it. When your heart is anchored in faith, you stop being tossed by emotion. You no longer measure life by how it feels, but by what you believe. Faith steadies your mind when fear tries to make you doubt. It reminds you that peace is not the absence of pain, but the presence of purpose. You begin to see how every struggle refines you, how every challenge strengthens you, how every unanswered prayer redirects you toward something better. Faith does not eliminate storms, it equips you to stand in them with grace. Peace is the evidence that you have learned to trust the process, even when it hurts. Peace is what faith looks like in motion. When your spirit is settled, it shows that you trust God's plan more than your own. You stop trying to force outcomes. You stop worrying about how long it will take. You understand that faith's timing is not measured by clocks, but by readiness. Every delay is teaching you patience. Every detour is building wisdom. Every silence is deepening trust. That understanding becomes peace. You no longer live in anxiety, you live in expectancy. You wait not with fear, but with gratitude, because you know that what is meant for you cannot miss you. Faith allows you to surrender control without losing confidence. You can let go and still feel strong. You can release what you cannot fix and still feel empowered. You can walk into the unknown with steady steps because peace is guiding you. When you let go of your need to predict everything, you open yourself to miracles. Faith removes the need for constant explanation. Peace silences the mind's endless questions. Together they create stillness within you, a space where divine wisdom can flow freely, where you can hear the quiet directions of your destiny. There are days when faith will feel small, when doubt will knock loudly on the doors of your heart. In those moments, peace becomes your reminder. Peace whispers, "Be still." It tells you that faith does not need to be loud to be real. Even a trembling faith can move mountains. Even a whisper of belief can bring calm to the storm. Peace does not come from having all the answers. It comes from trusting that answers will arrive when the time is right. It is resting in uncertainty with confidence that something greater is at work behind the curtain of the unseen. Faith also changes how you pray. When you truly trust, your prayers become lighter. You stop begging and start believing. You stop asking for proof and start thanking for promises. Your heart relaxes. Your breath deepens. Your peace returns. You no longer pray out of panic, but out of partnership with the divine. You understand that prayer is not about convincing God. It is about aligning yourself with faith. And when you are aligned, peace naturally flows through every part of you. You become calm not because everything is certain, but because you know everything is covered. Peace rooted in faith also transforms your relationships. You stop needing to control people or outcomes. You stop reacting to others' chaos. You realize that everyone is on their own journey, learning their own lessons, finding their own peace. You no longer take things personally because faith tells you that what is meant for you cannot be stolen, and what leaves you was never meant to stay. That revelation frees you from resentment. It lets you love from a place of abundance rather than attachment. Your peace becomes protection, keeping your spirit clear of bitterness and your heart open to grace. Faith-filled peace is patient. It knows that blessings mature in silence. It trusts that seeds planted today will bloom in their season. It does not rush because it understands that haste often ruins what patience would have perfected. When you walk in that kind of peace, you stop chasing what is already yours. You stop worrying about who sees you, who supports you, who believes in you. You start living with quiet confidence that everything that belongs to you will find you. Faith removes the pressure. Peace removes the panic. Together, they allow you to move through life with ease. When your faith is unshakable, peace becomes unbreakable. Nothing external can disturb what is rooted internally. People can disappoint you, plans can fall apart, yet your soul remains steady. You understand that what happens around you is temporary, but what happens within you is eternal. Peace becomes your constant companion, walking beside you in joy and sorrow, success and failure, noise and silence. It becomes a reflection of your trust. The more you believe in divine order, the less you are affected by worldly disorder. Faith is the soil, peace is the flower. Faith gives peace its language. It teaches peace how to speak even when there are no words. It whispers to the heart when logic fails. It sings softly in the background of sleepless nights, reminding you that you are safe, that you are guided, that nothing is wasted. When you live by faith, peace is not something you pursue. It is something you embody. It flows through your tone, your posture, your choices. You become a walking example of serenity. People feel calmer just by being near you because your faith has built an atmosphere of stillness that radiates from your soul. Faith also teaches you gratitude. When you believe that every experience holds purpose, you stop labeling things as good or bad. You see them as necessary. Gratitude grows, and with it, peace expands. You start to thank life for lessons instead of resenting it for losses. You start to bless your challenges because they built your strength. Gratitude becomes your daily prayer, and peace becomes its answer. You realize that peace is not something you wait to feel at the end of the storm. It's something you choose to carry through it. That choice is faith in motion. When faith and peace walk together, fear loses its voice. The things that used to make you panic now make you pray. The things that once broke you now build you. The same waves that once threatened to drown you now teach you how to float. You stop resisting what comes and start trusting what flows. Faith becomes your compass, peace your path. Together they lead you to a life of balance, purpose, and divine alignment. They remind you that calm is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of trust. That true power is not in control, but in surrender. That everything you need to survive the storm is already within you. Faith makes peace possible. Peace makes faith visible. One feeds the other, one strengthens the other, and together they make you unmovable. When you walk with faith, peace walks with you, wrapping your heart in assurance that no matter what storms arise, you are anchored in something greater than fear, greater than failure, greater than circumstance. You live not in reaction, but in revelation. You breathe not in panic, but in purpose. You carry a calm that cannot be shaken because it is built on the foundation of faith that never falters. When your heart is anchored in peace, no external storm can pull you away. The strength of your foundation determines how you survive the winds of life. A tree that is deeply rooted can bend without breaking. The same is true for the human spirit. When peace lives within you, it becomes your anchor. It holds you steady when everything else shifts. You may sway, you may shake, but you will not fall. The storm can rage, the waves can rise, but you remain grounded in something unshakable. That is the power of being anchored in peace. To be anchored in peace means to have a center so deep that the noise of the world cannot reach it. It means your calm is not conditional. It does not depend on how people treat you or how life behaves. It is an inner knowing that no matter what comes or goes, you are safe in your spirit. You stop being a prisoner to circumstances. You stop being controlled by external conditions. You become free because your balance no longer relies on balance outside. The peace within you becomes the gravity that keeps your world aligned. When chaos pulls, peace holds. When fear shouts, peace whispers back louder. There is a quiet kind of strength that comes from being anchored in peace. It does not announce itself. It does not compete. It does not need to prove. It simply exists. It radiates from your presence. It shows in how you carry yourself through storms, in how you choose calm instead of reaction, in how you smile even when life is heavy. This kind of peace is not built overnight. It is built through every trial that tried to break you but didn't. It is built through every loss that taught you surrender, every heartbreak that taught you faith, every waiting season that taught you patience. Each moment of pain became another layer of strength, another root of stillness buried deep within your soul. When your heart is anchored in peace, you begin to understand that the world is unpredictable, but you don't have to be. The economy may change, relationships may shift, opportunities may disappear, but your response remains steady. You are not defined by what happens to you, but by what you hold inside you. The storms may visit your life, but they do not own it. You stop being reactive. You stop being tossed between highs and lows. You start living from a deeper rhythm, one that cannot be disturbed by surface noise. The world may not slow down, but you no longer need it to. Your peace becomes your constant companion, your inner compass, your silent power. Anchored peace teaches you emotional stability. It teaches you not to let temporary feelings make permanent decisions. It teaches you how to breathe through frustration instead of feeding it, how to pause before you speak, how to release before you explode. You begin to realize that peace is not about ignoring emotions, but managing them. You can feel everything deeply without letting it drown you. You can acknowledge pain without losing gratitude. You can experience disappointment without losing faith. That balance, that groundedness, comes only when your heart is anchored in peace. People anchored in peace do not chase control, they choose trust. They no longer waste energy trying to change every wave that comes their way. They focus on adjusting their sails. They understand that peace is not found in calm seas, but in confident navigation. They know who they are and where their strength comes from. They have seen enough storms to know that panic does not help, that fear does not fix, and that stillness opens doors panic keeps closed. Their peace becomes their strategy. It allows them to move with wisdom, to act with clarity, to see opportunities others miss because they are blinded by fear. Being anchored in peace means you no longer attach your happiness to outcomes. You stop believing that you will only be at peace when life looks a certain way. You stop waiting for everything to be perfect before you rest. You start resting now, trusting that perfection is not the goal. Presence is. You learn to find beauty even in broken moments. You begin to see blessings even in the midst of loss. You understand that peace is not a destination but a state of being, a way of living that turns ordinary days into sacred experiences. When your heart is anchored in peace, you stop letting other people's storms wash into your soul. You stop absorbing their anger, their chaos, their insecurities. You can love them without losing yourself. You can listen without taking on their pain. You can be present without being drained. Peace teaches you boundaries. It tells you where you end and where others begin. It gives you permission to protect your spirit without feeling guilty. It allows you to walk away from noise and still send love in silence. That is what being anchored means. You are rooted enough to stand firm even when others around you are falling apart. Peace brings perspective. It reminds you that most storms are temporary, that panic magnifies what patience can dissolve. It teaches you to see beyond the moment, to remember that no feeling, no failure, no fear lasts forever. When you are anchored in peace, you stop reacting to every wave because you trust that still waters will return. You stop drowning in worry because you know that even if the tide rises, your anchor will hold. You live with quiet confidence, not because life is easy, but because you know you have the strength to remain calm, even when it's not. The storms of life will always test what you are anchored to. If you are anchored to approval, rejection will shake you. If you are anchored to wealth, loss will break you. If you are anchored to control, uncertainty will destroy your peace. But if you are anchored in divine trust, nothing can move you. You understand that God is your anchor, and as long as you are tied to His truth, you cannot drift too far. Even when the wind blows, even when the waves crash, you remain centered. That is not denial of reality, it is mastery of faith. It is knowing that stability is not found in circumstance, but in surrender. Anchored peace does not mean you stop feeling. It means you stop fearing your feelings. It means you allow emotion to move through you without letting it decide who you become. You stop fighting every wave of sadness or frustration. You start riding them with grace. You begin to trust the rhythm of your own soul, knowing that peace will always return if you stay grounded. The more anchored you become, the less you depend on external validation. The less you need people to understand you, the less you crave constant assurance. Peace gives you self-trust. It reminds you that your own calm is enough proof that you are walking the right path. When your heart is anchored in peace, forgiveness becomes easier. You stop holding on to grudges because you understand that bitterness only weighs down your anchor. You start letting go, not because others deserve it, but because you deserve peace. You stop arguing to be right and start choosing to be free. You start valuing your calm more than your pride. You begin to live lighter, love softer, and think clearer. Peace allows you to walk away from what disturbs your spirit without needing to explain why. You simply know that anything that costs your peace is too expensive to keep. Peace anchors your thoughts the same way gravity anchors your body. It keeps you from floating away into fear and confusion. When you are anchored, your mind is not easily swayed by opinions, not easily influenced by trends, not easily tempted by distraction. You know how to return to center. You know how to pause and breathe before reacting. You know that not everything deserves a response. Not every storm requires participation. You have learned to be selective with your attention because peace has taught you that energy is sacred. What you feed grows, and you choose to feed calm. Anchored peace turns waiting into worship. You no longer rush through seasons of uncertainty. You begin to see that waiting is not punishment. It is preparation. You learn to find purpose in pauses, meaning in silence. You start thanking life even for delays because you know that divine timing is never wrong. You stop forcing doors and start trusting direction. Your anchor keeps you steady while life rearranges itself around you. You stop comparing your timeline to others because your peace is not in their progress. It is in your trust. When storms come, people anchored in peace do not ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What is this teaching me?" They understand that storms are not always signs of destruction. Sometimes they are winds of transformation. Sometimes they come to shake loose what you no longer need. When your heart is anchored, you allow the storm to pass through without tearing you apart. You welcome the lessons, release the pain, and return to stillness stronger than before. Your peace becomes your recovery. It becomes the calm after every chaos, the light after every shadow, the song after every silence. Peace also deepens your connection with the divine. When you are anchored in it, you can hear guidance in the quiet moments. You no longer chase signs. You recognize them. You no longer beg for clarity. You rest in it. Peace clears the clutter of fear so you can hear your intuition clearly. It becomes the language through which your soul communicates with the higher power. And the more you listen, the stronger your anchor grows. You begin to understand that storms are not punishments but reminders. To return to stillness, to trust again, to remember your roots. When your heart is anchored in peace, gratitude flows naturally. You begin to notice small blessings, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter, the softness of breath. Gratitude feeds peace, and peace multiplies gratitude. Together, they keep you grounded in joy even when life feels uncertain. You start to see miracles in the mundane, lessons in the loss, beauty in the breaking. The deeper your gratitude, the heavier your anchor, and the lighter your spirit becomes. Being anchored in peace makes you unshakable, not because storms stop coming, but because they no longer define you. You stop living on emotional roller coasters. You start living from your core, from your center, from the deep knowing that you can face whatever comes and still remain whole. The storms may come for your comfort, but they cannot take your composure. They may test your strength, but they cannot uproot your faith. Your anchor holds because it was never built on circumstance. It was built on conviction, on trust, on divine peace that passes all understanding. When you are anchored in peace, you start teaching others how to find their anchor too. You become an example, a light, a mirror of stillness in a world that has forgotten how to be still. People come to you for calm, for guidance, for energy that feels safe. And without even trying, you begin to lift others simply by being who you are. Because peace is not something you preach. It is something you radiate. It spreads quietly, like sunlight through a window, reaching even those who do not know they need it. To be anchored in peace is to finally be free. You are no longer a victim of emotion, of circumstance, of noise. You belong to yourself. You belong to the quiet strength that lives in your center. You move through life with grace because you know that storms will come and storms will go, but your anchor remains. You walk through change without losing balance. You face endings without losing hope. You encounter noise without losing clarity. Because when peace lives at the heart of who you are, nothing outside of you has the power to shake the foundation of your soul.